You're listening to Back Pew Convos.
I'm Sean.
And I'm Sal. And this is the podcast God wants you to listen to.
So if you want to remain in God's will, have a sit down.
Grab a beverage of your choice.
And have a listen.
You're welcome.
In frame here.
That's how you know we ate too much on the cruise, when we no longer fit in the frame.
Yes.
We haven't touched any of this since before we went on the cruise. And we
That's
come
true.
back and now we can't even fit in the frame.
Somehow the camera was all befuddled though.
Yeah.
Befuddled?
I told you a ghost lives down here.
Yeah. Yeah, you have told me that.
So one time the lights were just on randomly. I don't know how that happened. So
A ghost?
see.
A ghost?
A blue hawks.
Oh yeah? Is you mixing Hebrew in there?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
Frankenbeans.
Yep.
Takis.
Taki's gonna hurt my stomach.
Yeah.
I got a weak stomach now. I used to only eat hot stuff all the time. Just look at me now. I'm falling apart. Gives me heartburn.
I had some Oreos before I came over here.
Very nice.
Oreo.
Had a cup of coffee.
Get anointed.
Mushroom coffee. So I'm almost tripping right now.
Almost.
No, it was mushroom coffee, but not those kind of mushrooms.
I made a reference there. There's maybe, I almost guarantee no one listening to this will get it. But that was
I didn't pick up on it.
a throwback to old school, who was that? Disciples of Christ maybe was the name of the group. It was a rap group from
I wasn't listening to that music back then. so-
90s.
Yeah, that wasn't me.
It's like early 90s Christian rap.
I did not grow up listening to Christian music.
That's all I listened to growing up.
And people wonder why we're so different.
I know. I just got so much Jesus in me.
It's the difference, I was born of this world.
Yep.
You merely adopted the darkness.
Yeah. The real difference is I listened to Carmen a lot when I was a kid. That's
Ye-
the key. That's the key difference here.
I do know who Carmen is, but I only learned who he was after I was an adult, and I couldn't tell you not one of his songs. Not a single one.
Conviction.
But from what I do know, seemed like a rad guy. R.I.P. He passed, didn't he?
Yeah, he did.
He passed.
That song is actually really silly. If you go and listen to it. I mean, never mind. We're already going to make people angry. Let's not start off with something silly like making fun of a Carmen song.
Oh no, it'll get them in a good mood. You gotta lighten the crowd up a little bit before you get heavy with it.
I hope
That's
that
showbiz, baby.
hope that we don't make anyone upset with this one. I almost don't know if there's a way to not, as volatile as the whole thing has been. I almost don't know if you can say anything about it without making someone upset.
I am pretty sure that I tick off somebody every time I open my mouth on this show. So that's not going to be different in this one. I can promise you that.
I just assume that everyone loves everything that I say.
That might be true. Just depends on who's listening to us, I suppose.
Yeah.
All the millions and millions of Backpewians around the world.
Yeah. We have a consistent 15 or so.
We freaking love you guys, though. All 15 of you.
Yeah.
I haven't seen anybody satire us yet, so they're not just watching us to make fun of us, unless they're just doing it on their own.
Right. I'm sure there's people making fun of us. They just may not be putting it out there for the world to hear and see.
Right. You know what the thing is, though? Our episodes are usually so long that you really got to be dedicated if you're going to listen to 2 hours of me and you just ramble on about stuff just to make fun of us. Like, that's got to be it. You got to be living some sort of boring life.
Right. You have literally nothing else to do with your life than that, if that's what you're doing. Well, dadgum. I don't know how to make a smooth transition, or if we even want to transition. Do we even want to talk about the things?
Yeah, we got to.
Well, all right then.
As if anybody's going to be surprised. What else would we talk about?
Well, it's going to be in the title.
Right. But I mean,
so
I'm just saying, this is the first recording that we have done since the event has happened, since we've been back from our cruise. And so, like, what else would we talk about? Anybody who watches our show should already know ahead of time what's coming.
Yeah, you would think. Yeah. Well, I wanted to start off a little light and breezy because things are going to get heavy, I'm sure. I've been feeling heavy all day, though. I told you that a little bit before we got started. Just been nonstop all day, just kind of been bombarded with the weight of the state of the church. State of the world, really.
Welcome to my psyche. Imagine living in that space all the time.
Yeah. I started off, with some easy breezy, nothing too heavy. Listening to The Color of Compromise by Jamar Tisby.
Just a little light reading.
Yeah. So that was not a great way if you're trying to keep your day light and breezy and not have to think about the cares of the world and the church. That's not the way to do it.
Right.
That's the exact opposite way to do it.
I will say I have not read or listened to the audiobook version of that, but I have been listening to him on some podcasts and stuff, and I really have enjoyed his takes. I think he's very intelligent, and he speaks. I mean, obviously, he's a black man. He's lived a different life than I have lived.
Right.
So he is able to provide a perspective that I don't have access to.
Mm-hmm.
I could never have access to.
Right.
So I appreciate the way he goes about it. So
yeah.
I think he's putting out some good stuff.
Yeah. Well, he knows his stuff too. He's very educated. He knows his history, and that's basically what The Color of Compromise is. It's kind of like a historical look at the racism, the evangelical church's complicity, with racism, going back to the very beginning. A good portion of what I listened to today was tracking through chattel slavery and all of that.
It is a little bit nice to know that you felt all this heaviness and I didn't factor into that. Not because it wasn't because I sent you anything that was heavy or this. For once, your grief was not my fault.
Well, I mean, honestly, it's just kind of been in the background.
Yeah.
Ever since, well, I mean, since Charlie Kirk's assassination, really, I've been feeling a little bit heavy ever since then. And that's something that I wanted to talk about with this, but I don't know in what order to talk about all the things that are in my head.
There's no, that's the fun of doing a show without an outline. I sort of like it because it's more natural.
Yeah,
it's more intuitive, but also there are times when you have so many thoughts and emotions that you don't even know which direction to go with.
Yeah. So maybe the first thing to say is that what happened is absolutely terrible. There is no excuse for political violence or violence of any kind, no matter who it is. And it's sad and it's terrible for, his family and for his friends, those close to him, particularly for his wife and his children.
Yeah, I mean, I think I would make it. I mean, I don't disagree with that in any way, really. Other than I would just add too that like that's coming from a place of like I was no Charlie Kirk fan by any means. I didn't
Right.
listen to. I, I didn't regularly listen to the stuff he was putting out. He had a different take, generally speaking, on most issues that I did hear him speak of than I share, and so I was absolutely no fan of the work he was doing.
Right.
But with that being said, I agree with everything you're saying. That regardless of the fact that I disagree with him on virtually every point that he made, that should happen to nobody. That I don't. It's not right, even to someone like that I wholeheartedly disagree with on most issues. I don't wish that upon anyone. On literally my worst enemy, which obviously, even though I disagreed with him, I wouldn't have considered him an enemy. I didn't even know the man.
Right.
So I wouldn't. But yeah. So I want to emphasize that just because, like, even though I didn't agree with him, I still I don't wish political violence or any kind of violence, not just political violence. I mean,
Yeah.
I abhor all. I'm a self-proclaimed pacifist.
Right.
I believe that that's the main message. One of the main messages of Jesus is radical nonviolence and enemy love. And so, from that perspective, if I actually believe the things I say in regards to that, then there's no way I would support any sort of violence against others.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, obviously it's from that perspective, it is a tragedy. It's sad, and it shouldn't happen. I wish we lived in a world where that didn't happen.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I was getting there.
Yeah.
We were just going in opposite orders, I guess. Because yes, it is an absolute tragedy, and I do want to say this: Charlie was a lot of things, but at the end of the day, his most important roles were husband and father, and his wife doesn't have a husband now, and his kids don't have a father now. And that is sad, and that's terrible. And but like you said, I would also say that I disagreed with Charlie on a lot. Maybe most things that I've heard from him. I didn't. I did listen to some of his debates. It is interesting, the algorithms, right? The differences, because depending on who you are, your algorithm is going to be different, and you're going to see different things. Like there's a lot of people talking about him being like a firm or like a defender of the gospel, and I didn't really see a lot of his in the clips and stuff. I didn't really see him doing a lot of like theology and really like preaching the gospel. I saw more of his political takes than I saw his theological ones. When I did see him using scripture and things like that, I had disagreements with his usage of the scriptures, his interpretations, and things like that. But yeah. Anyway,
well, I think that that's that's a topic that we can take this conversation to at some point, because I actually think that there's a reason why that is, and that's because I think that perhaps that strand, that niche of Christianity is so intertwined with politics that there's not a lot of difference between politics and religion. So maybe I don't know that there's that vast of a difference in algorithms so much as we process it so differently because of that reason.
That's something that I figured would come up. as well. But I do wonder if there just is video out there
Yeah.
that we don't see because of the algorithms that
Right. Well, that's why I
I'm
wanted to,
not on social media a lot either. All the stuff I see is YouTube.
and that's why
Anyway.
I wanted to make sure I said that, like, I didn't watch, like, I wasn't a regular listener or watcher of
Right.
his programming. Like, when I say that I disagree with virtually all, every the majority of what I heard him say, if not all,
Yeah.
that means it's not like I was listening to everything the man said. I've kind of like what you said. I've seen some of his debates, some of the clips that are on YouTube. You know what I mean? Like I've seen some people, because some of the people that I regularly do follow would react to some of the things he said. So I've seen some of those clips.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's not like I was sitting around listening to his podcast. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
so I acknowledge that. It's not like I know everything this guy said.
Yeah.
And for that reason, I don't have a lot of, like, it's not like I've got quotes from the guy I'm about to pull out and start using,
Yeah.
you know?
I didn't really know what direction the pod would go, this episode would go. I don't have any quotes prepared either. I thought about gathering some,
I thought
but
about
I
it.
didn't.
I thought about it as well. But I actually
Um,
saw man, you're right. There's just so many different ways that we can go because I've thought about a lot of different things.
Yeah.
Because I've went through a lot of different headspace.
Yeah.
I told you before we hit record here that I'm glad that, because this is we're recording this on the 18th and this is Thursday, so what, the event happened a week from today?
I think so, yeah.
So we've had a week to kind of process this, and the me that would have recorded this last Friday is quite a bit different take than you would get today.
Yeah.
Because I've had time to sit with it. I've
Yeah.
had time to digest the information. I've seen, other people's takes on it.
Yeah.
And it's just like anything, right? Like that's the old adage, before you say anything, like take a deep breath and count to 10 or whatever. Like when you slow down and process things, you're going to get a different reaction than when you just off the cuff. So
Right.
So there was definitely times when I was, I'm going to be collecting quotes. I'm getting receipts,
Yeah.
but that's not me today.
Yeah. And I think that's actually for the best. That's not really how I wanted to approach. My initial reaction for how we would do this was not that.
Right.
And then at some point I was like, well, maybe we do. But I'm glad that neither one of us thought it was a good idea today to do that. I don't really think that that's what the episode should be about.
And I just don't think it's beneficial.
Yeah.
Quite frankly, I don't.
Yeah.
I don't think it's I don't think it's a good approach for people that are in our position.
Yeah.
And I also, maybe this is that sort of skeptic nihilist part of me that comes out, but I don't think it matters. I don't think we're not going to say anything that no one else isn't already saying. And the people that believe what they believe, the people that are screaming about context and saying, whatever, they're going to believe what they believe. Nothing I say is going to change that. It's only going to infuriate other people.
Yeah.
The people who agree with me are just going to agree with me, and the people that disagree with me are going to continue to disagree with me. So it does no good for me to take that route.
Yeah. And depending on the day, I would say I'm right there with you. Today's probably one of those days.
Well, like I said, that's my general, just my daily life. So
I have actually genuinely thought about that this week, though. Like, and not so much as a place of despair, just like it doesn't matter, but like, is it even the best thing to do? Like, it's just so widespread, this reaction, I think we all just kind of think we're more important than we really are.
yeah, absolutely.
Like anytime anything happens, everyone rushes to social media, everyone rushes to whatever their medium is to get their thoughts and feelings out there. They go there and they just spew their opinions about whatever and their feelings about this and that. And it's like, how much good is that doing, though? I understand it can be cathartic for you to get it out, but how much good is that actually doing? And I don't know. I'm in a place today where I don't know that it's doing us any good to just keep doing that.
Well, I can tell you personally that there's people that I've known for 20 plus years that I would consider friends that are no longer my friends on Facebook because of the things they have said about this.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
So,
See that? I mean,
is that good?
right.
You
Yeah.
know?
I mean, that's an aspect of what I'm talking about for sure. Yeah. I mean, it's you know, this phrase is something that well, I don't know if I don't know if I want to say that or not. I am the editor, as you keep pointing out,
That's true.
so I can edit it out if I want. But there's a phrase that's always kind of rubbed me wrong that we've used at church before. Um, don't give them your opinion, give them the word of God.
Yeah. I think I've actually said that on this podcast that that's one of the things
And
it's like nails on a chalkboard to me.
yeah, and I'll say just for those listening that have heard the term and love the term, let me just explain
Right.
that like the reason it doesn't quite sit right with me is because it depends on what you mean by it. I think that if what you mean by that is you have the interpretation of this scripture and this is just plainly what this says, and I'm just going to tell you what this scripture plainly says instead of giving you my interpretation of it. I just think that that's just not, I mean, I don't know the right word to use there, but I don't think that that is, what I was going to say is I think that's a little naive to think that your interpretation is the meaning.
I mean, I think that's appropriate.
But so that's how that rubs me a little bit wrong, is like I don't want us to ever forget that when we approach the scriptures, we are interpreting them.
Yes.
There's no way around that. We are gathering some sort of interpretation, and our interpretations can be good or bad.
Right. I mean, I think it's Pete Enns, who is far more educated on the Bible than I am, has actually said, and I think that a lot of the people that I know personally would not appreciate the wording of this, but I think he's right. And he always says that the scriptures on their own say nothing. Like, and what you're saying is what he's trying to get across in that is that
Yeah.
anything that you're getting out of that requires interpretation.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like
Right.
even if it is the most black and white cut, there's only one interpretation of this. This is what it says. That is still your interpretation of what it says, or somebody else's interpretation that you just co-opted. But
Right. Yeah.
regardless, it's somebody's interpretation.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So like there is literally that's why I'm not a fan of the quote. It's because there's no such thing as just giving the word. Like anything that you give is your opinion, in my opinion. That's my opinion. But
well, so like and again, all that isn't to say that there aren't bad interpretations or good interpretations. Like there are, but it is an interpretation nonetheless. Like it may be that if you decide I'm not going to give someone my opinion, I'm going to give them scripture, it may be that what you're giving them is good.
yeah,
It may be a good interpretation, and it may be
Absolutely.
spot on. So that's not to say that it's not negative in that sense. It's just we can't. And it may seem a little nitpicky to some folks, but
well, and that's why I was like, and what I was thinking in my head was like, I don't think we're having this conversation right now as like a way of like picking on anybody or
Yeah.
whatever. You know what I mean? Like I don't when that phrase has been used, like it's used in good intention, and that's not
Yes.
what they mean. Like you know what I
Right,
mean?
yeah.
It's just like a nitpicky thing for us in
Right.
our own. It's not something I would say. You know what I mean? But
I just overthink things.
yeah,
So the wording of it bothers me.
right, exactly.
But like the whole reason I brought that up though was to say I kind of gained a new appreciation for the phrase because of what we were saying before. Like I don't think we need I don't need to hear my third cousin's opinion about whatever happens to be going on right now in the White House or with Charlie Kirk and or with any of this stuff. Like, I don't need to hear your opinion. I need to hear your heart, but I need to hear your heart as it's resonating with the scriptures. And I think if there's anything that's going to be helpful that we could say, it's that. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know that giving our I already know where you're going, but I don't think that just spewing our opinions about this is going to do as much good, at least right now, as just trying to speak. I don't know how to word this. Trying to let Christ speak through you and using his words from the scriptures, to
I like that.
aid that.
Yeah, no, I don't. It is kind of funny. I was actually, as he was talking, I was sitting here thinking about like, what do people when we go to social media? And I say we because I'm as guilty of it as anybody. Although I'm pretty proud of the way I've handled this last week. Part of it was because I was on a cruise ship and didn't have access to social
Right.
media, but
Yeah.
I haven't. Yeah, I'm proud of the way I handled this one, but because that shows growth, it shows improvement.
Yeah.
For me,
Right.
but I was listening to you talk and I was just sort of like, what do we think that we're doing when we like what's the point? If you're gonna go on social media about something and just be like all leftists are violent jerks or the opposite. All right people are racist bigots and I hate them all. What do you it kind of goes back to what I said before, like all the people that already agree with you are going to be like, heck yeah, man. And then everybody on the other
Right.
side that already disagrees with you is going to be like, you suck, bro. Like, what do you think is the point? Like, what's the point? What is the point in that?
Yeah.
And I'm not preaching at anybody else but myself. That's, but
Right.
I mean, yeah, I haven't said anything actually directly on social media about the Charlie Kirk thing, as far as like making my own post or whatever,
Yeah.
The only thing I did make a post yesterday because, which it was you before I even or after I'd already messaged you about it, but like, cause I have a handwritten, so one day I hand wrote out the Beatitudes and I hung them above my workspace upstairs in my office. That way throughout the workday, it's right there. I got the Beatitudes.
Right.
And I don't know, for whatever reason, that morning, I look at it every day. Obviously, it's hanging above my workspace. But that morning, the verse that really stood out to me was the blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called children of God. And it was just that was resonating within me all day. And then finally, I did make a post about it, about how and just posted a picture of that handwritten poster, and was just like, for whatever reason, this is speaking to me today, and it's because I know, like, I'm not a peacemaker.
Right.
I'm not merciful, and I'm not meek. Absolutely not meek by nature. I am loud and opinionated and emotional, and and my natural inclination is not peacemaking. It's to smash faces. Like, I'm just being honest about it.
Right.
That's me by nature.
Yeah.
So I need that reminder. That's why I hung it up there. And so I just said
We
that.
all need that reminder.
And so that's what I said in the post. I just said, like, I think this is really speaking to me today, and it's because it's not natural to me, but I know in this day, more than ever, we need mercy,
Yeah.
we need peace, and we need meekness. And so that's the message I want to give out. No matter for the last week, is that what I have felt all week? Hell no. I felt anger, I felt pain, I felt judged and ostracized wrongly. I felt all sorts of different emotions, and my natural inclination to that is to want to lash out, is to want to yell at people and cuss people and fight people. But I haven't done any of that, thankfully. I've been able to, I guess, but maybe I've matured a little bit enough to like,
Yeah.
handle it. Um, so yeah. Anyway, I don't. But going back to the social media thing, I don't know. Like that, I think that's what you're talking about. Like, I feel like that's because ultimately at the end of the post, I just said this was something I needed today, and maybe somebody else needed it too. And
Yeah.
that was the point of it. Was like, if there's a lot of negativity on Facebook right now, man, and like,
Yeah.
maybe you just needed a break from all that and somebody to say, "Hey, I'm here with you,"
Yeah.
And so,
Spreading positivity. It doesn't. It actually really doesn't matter what social media outlet you're
right,
a part of. I mean, Lord help anyone that's on X regularly.
yeah, I'm not.
From what I'm not on it either. I don't even have an X account, but like from what I hear, it's just a cesspool,
That's why I said Facebook
pure
because
negativity.
Facebook's the one I'm familiar with. So,
Yeah,
mm,
but it's just all of them. Like that's. I mean, if you wanted to just put it in like very like more to the point of what I was trying to say earlier, you could just say, "Yeah, man, just speak positively instead of negatively." That's
or
kind
even
of a
just
better way, I guess.
even more so than positively, because I don't think it always has to be positive. It needs to be constructive. Speak constructively. Like, what's the point of what we were saying earlier? Just speaking destructively with no hope of any sort of construction out of it. But like,
Right.
speak to build up, to move forward, to be constructive in it. Because, and I say that because I do think that there is a place for criticisms in a certain way. I don't like the word criticism because it carries such a negative connotation to it. It's almost like a finger point, and that's not what I mean by that. But I think that there are ways to speak to people, even on social media, that are constructive but aren't necessarily positive. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, I think so.
Maybe this is my uneducated opinion, but I have 20 years of social media experience, so all the way back to the MySpace days.
Oh yeah, I had a MySpace for sure. Um, yeah, there's there's a lot of different directions we could go. Um, I found myself listening to a lot of black voices today, um, on this issue and about, I listened. I think I already did. Did we record that?
No, we didn't record that. That was before we started.
Did we record? Did I say I listened to the?
Jamar Tisby.
I did say that, right? Yeah. So I listened to about half of that Jamar Tisby book today, but um, aside from that, I listened to 2 episodes of Esau McCauley's podcast where he had multiple guests on there that were also black and speaking on this issue with Charlie Kirk, and um listened to part of an episode of the Tim and April show, but Tim had I cannot remember the gal's name. She works with Tim, the New Evangelicals. I don't know what her position is, but she's a black woman, and uh, I don't know. It's all of this hits everybody different depending on who you are, and we're two white middle class cisgender, right? Dudes. Like,
Right.
so it this hits us a little is hits us different. Like one thing that Esau was talking about was how it's hard navigating friendships right now. But I mean, which you've already said you've had to unfriend some people during some of this, and But I think it hits a little different in regards to some of the comments he's made about black people,
Yeah,
black women in particular,
absolutely.
and as it's I think it's important for us to listen to those voices and let those voices be um, the ones that we're paying attention to, because that is their experience. Like, as a black woman, how are you experiencing this right now because of the things that he said?
Right.
You know, and again, I'm not trying to demonize the guy. I'm just trying to speak honestly about some of the emotions and the things that came up for me today as I was listening to these other voices.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's similar to and like you said, I'm a middle class straight white guy, cisgendered, whatever. So like,
Yeah.
I had a separate thought about that, but I don't want to lose my train of thought on this other thing. So, but so I don't want to take away from their experience of what you're saying there, because that's real. But to what you said, like I've experienced it myself with some of the stuff that's being said, not about Kirk himself, but about some of the things that people I personally know have said as a reaction to that. I mean, now one of the things that that I had experienced, and it actually that caught me at a bad time, first of all, but it really set me, and we had a pretty spirited, like, private conversation. Um, but it was because first of all, we were on a cruise ship. They didn't have any service, but we just happened to be in a port, and I had a little bit of service, so I had just a little bit of time. And like, I hadn't checked my phone in a couple days, and then the first thing I see is about this person that I had known for 20 plus years, about how all people on the left are violent and all of this, and like it just well, first of all, again, we were on a cruise ship. I was having a good day. I was actually Amber Cove Day, so I was having a great day, to say. and
Yeah, that was a good day.
and I mean, it was literally one of the best days of my life. I think I had such a good day that day.
Yeah.
It was an awesome day. But um man, it just struck a nerve with me, because like that's the one thing that I have consistently stood for over the last however many years, like
Yeah.
since I was old enough to have my own individual thought, was nonviolence. Like that's my shtick, is nonviolence and love your neighbor as yourself. Like that's the one thing I've consistently said at church, is like, I don't care if we disagree about all this other stuff. It's the only thing I care about is love your neighbor as yourself. So like, to hear somebody that I know say that all people who have leftist ideology are violent by nature and just want violence and all of this other stuff, like that just made that
Yeah.
that gets me, because it's like, what?
Right.
I mean, and we can talk about that more after after a little while, about sort of, because I do sort of want to talk about that feeling of like, am I living in an alternative reality at some point? Because that's
Right.
part of it. Like, I feel like the part of the reason why I lean left in my ideology is because of my nonviolence. That's what my compassion for others and care for others is what has led me down the road of being left. So to hear that all people on the left are violent, it's like, what? Like, what kind of alternative reality am I living in? And
Right.
like that part just, I didn't know how to handle that. Like I said, we had a pretty spirited, because my initially seen it and just flipped a switch. Like I said, my natural reaction is not meekness. My natural reaction is violence. So I have to work hard at nonviolence and meekness. But ultimately, I ended up just being like, man, if that's what you think about me, then good life, I guess. Good riddance, Like, I don't know what else to say, but
Yeah.
But that's sort of that's what my experience with it, at least. But I only thought that it was appropriate to slide in there, because it goes along with what you're saying about listening to people with other voices, instead of like telling a black woman how they should feel, because I'm not a black woman, right? Instead of telling me what I am as someone on the left, maybe listen to me. about that experience.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. There's I know I keep saying it, but there's a lot to say, and I don't know what I should and shouldn't say, because something that has bothered me about this whole situation, this whole tragedy, the outrage that's ensued, is that what you're talking about as far as like that immediate reaction to lash out. Like, I understand it. I understand that sort of visceral reaction of like the from the shock of what's just happened, like wanting to lash out, wanting to blame. I understand the impulse to it, but man, it's toxic. We can't do that.
It's even more insane at this juncture because, like, we don't know anything about the guy that committed the atrocity that he did. Right. Like, I mean, people want to point to the left. Was he a leftist? I don't know. That makes sense to me based on what I know about like who Charlie was and why somebody would feel you so strongly against the things that he was saying. That makes sense, but we don't know that. But then the counter reaction was that the guy's family is strong conservative. So no, he was a right wing guy. We don't know that. We don't know anything about this guy. We don't know. He hasn't said what his motives were. Like, we don't know. But then everybody's, no, all the left are violent. No, the right. Like, to your point, where our initial reaction is to lash out, but we don't even have the information.
Yeah. And we fall victim to all these conspiracy theories that stupid people push forward, and then that we see it on Facebook or we see it on X or whatever, and then we latch onto it and like, oh, that's what actually happened. We have no clue. But by all means, just take this conspiracy theory that someone cooked up, may possibly with the intention of making you angry, like solely for the purpose of trying to bring more division and hate.
I mean, that's, yeah, absolutely. Again, the cynicalness in me.
Right. Yeah.
It's in seeing what some of the fallout is, not just people talking on social media, but actual thing, like, I mean, one of the recent things that just happened, I guess was yesterday, was the whole Jimmy Kimmel thing, which I don't care about Jimmy Kimmel either, but I do care about the precedent it sets with the whole free speech thing. And then, like, those are like, it wasn't allegedly the FCC applied pressure that kind of nudged them in that direction. So that's like government interference in free speech, if that's even true. But even if it's not, it's like, that's that has real life implications for the freedom of the things that people can and can't say. I mean, it's part of why I've had to unfriend people. If it's somebody that I don't know really intimately and they're spewing all kinds of right-wing propaganda right now and talking down to left-wing people, I had to unfriend you because people are losing their jobs. I don't know what, like, I can't risk that because you don't like something I say. Those are real life implications, man.
Yeah. I don't know what I want to say about all that either. Because it is crazy some of the things that are happening right now in that regard. Like, I just read earlier today that and I confirmed it, like, it is true. I don't know the intention behind it, so it may not be any sort of like nefarious like conspiracy or anything. But the DOJ did remove from their website. You saw that too?
Yeah, the
statistics about right-wing extremist violence, I think is what it was.
Well, that's what I was talking about when I said, like, hearing everybody talk about how violent the left is, I was just like, am I living in an alternative reality? Because, like, just statistically speaking, that doesn't make any sense. It's just not true. It's false.
Right.
And then you've got the Department of Justice removing the data that actually...
Yeah. And I've read that it's possible that there's legitimate reasons for that, and it's a temporary thing. It may come back up. It may not be an intentional, like, we're trying to hide this information because it doesn't look good,
Right.
But yeah, it's and I didn't know how much I wanted to bring up with any of that, because honestly, that's another thing that's bothered me is this, and it's not just like we I don't we've had personal conversations, and it's come up in personal conversations, but also, like, I've heard it from multiple different people, like this initial reaction to, like, to say, well, who's more violent?
Yeah.
Is it the right or the left? Like, let's divvy it up and see. And I just think that that's just the wrong approach right now. So I didn't know, I wasn't intending to bring that into it, actually. But I mean, yes, statistically speaking, I think you can see that there is a side that has resulted in more deaths, at least.
Right. And ultimately, I don't disagree with what you say about, like, because that's not really I agree with you that I don't think it's important who is more violent. To me, the
Yes.
fact that violent exists in that
Right.
manner is means there's work to be done.
Yes, it has to be called out on both sides.
Ultimately, I don't care who's doing it. I want it to stop.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And so, like, yeah, but as someone who is pretty solidly left, and everyone that knows me knows that, to, like, hear all of that propaganda against people on the left, it does, like, it is relevant, because it does make me think, like, I mean, we've said it on the show a million times. Am I taking crazy pills? Like, I feel like I'm in an alternative reality. It's just like,
especially when it is actually statistically just untrue.
Right. But that's why I said what I said at the onset about, like, it doesn't matter what you say, because there's literally, you can look up statistics and people don't care. So they're not going to care what I say. Like, I'm not changing anybody's mind. It's not happening.
Yeah. And again, it doesn't matter. Like, the violence has to be addressed from both sides. And it's wrong. The folks, trying to think how to word this. The folks on the left that are, because there are people out there on the left that seem to be happy about this.
I'm sure.
That are just a little too gleeful about the fact that this man has died, and his wife no longer has a husband, and his children no longer have a father. And that's terrible. And that needs to be called out for what it is. But also the right's response of, we can't sit by anymore, and, like, this, like, call to, like, essentially, like all the violent rhetoric, like, essentially a call to meet violence with violence. We have to shut that down too. We have to call that out for what it is.
I mean, to me, that is the message that I get in the Gospels.
Yeah.
The only way you ever get out of the cycle of violence is through nonviolence.
Yeah.
Violence only begets more violence. Darkness cannot cast out the light, right? Like, it's to me, that's the whole message of that's why I am so wholeheartedly nonviolent, is because I see, even when I struggle with my theology and the thing, what do I believe and what do I not believe about the ontology of Jesus and the metaphysics of all of this stuff. Even as I struggle with those things, the one thing that remains true, regardless of any of that other stuff, because I can observe it and I have experienced it, is that the only way that we break out of the cycle of hatred is through love. The only way that we break out of the cycle of violence is through peace and nonviolence. Violence, you cannot overcome more violence with violence. I think that's the whole story of Barabbas and Jesus. That's one of my favorite stories in the gospel, because the name Barabbas, and there's actually, I can't remember which gospel it is, it says Jesus Barabbas. But the Barabbas, Bar means son, Abba, the father. Like, the Barabbas character is a Christ character. In that moment, though, the people there are choosing, do you want this violent person who tried to overthrow the government through violence, through murder? He killed someone in an insurrection. There's almost nothing else we know about Barabbas other than
Right.
he was arrested for murdering someone in an insurrection.
Yeah.
Or are you going to pick Jesus, this nonviolent, enemy love preaching savior? And they chose violence. And what happened? The destruction of the temple in 70 AD. They chose that because violence only leads to destruction. If you live by the sword, you die by the sword. So, like, we're not the strong arming. We've got to. This is a moment of war. We've got to. No, there's. It only leads to more. It's only going to lead to more violence. It's only going to lead to more death. There's only going to be more kids that wake up the next day without a father or a mother. That's all that leads to.
Yeah. Yeah. And something that just keeps coming to my mind, and I didn't know when to bring it up. I knew I was going to bring it up, and it kind of naturally came up now. So I guess I'll just say it now. Is I've been thinking about that too. The whole. So I have heard one thing I've heard, and I've experienced myself is like, for whatever reason, this current moment we're in feels different. Do you feel that?
I do.
I feel that, and I've heard and seen so many other people say the same thing.
I was actually thinking about this today, not even all that long before you got here. I was thinking about how, like, it does feel that way, and in a way, I guess what's heavy on my mind with that is being a father, because I am worried about the moment that we're in, and I'm worried about our country, but I'm not worried for myself. But I am worried for my son. You know, like it's different. I don't know. That's because I mean, because you have a wife, and you would give your life for her, right? Like it's the
Yes.
same way for your children, right? Like
Yeah.
it's not a thing for me to have to, like, if things go south and things go south for me and whatever reason, because I'm associated with the left and someone targets me, that's one thing. But my son, I'm worried for him and his future.
Yeah.
And not just like, I'm worried in regards to not just violence, but also like education. I talked about that with the education and some of the things that are being implemented there, and the freedom of speech stuff, like all of that stuff worries me, because that's stuff that takes time, and we're going to be old men if we live to be old men.
Yeah.
But my son's got to grow up in that world. And how's
Right.
that going to form and frame the way he sees the world? And that's what scares me.
Yeah. Yeah. See, my mind, naturally, because I'm not a dad, went in a different direction with it. But like I've even seen folks that are more right leaning, folks that loved Charlie, that were big fans of Charlie, say the same thing, as far as like there's some sort of extra heaviness to this moment. There's something that feels different about this moment that we're in post his assassination. And I've been thinking about that and reflecting on it, and I keep having this sense that maybe we are at some sort of like fork in the road type, like some sort of like, this is a pivotal moment in the course of our history. Like, and that we can all, because of the interconnectedness of us all, we can all kind of sense it, that there's something.
It does seem like perhaps it's been boiling under the surface for, I mean, probably all the way 10 years or more, actually. But maybe this is just something that has broken that seal, so to speak, that has caused the simmering, that the thing that was simmering under the surface to kind of bust through.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that where my mind keeps going with it is like, the reason it came to mind right now was because of what you said about, like, if you go to the Sermon on the Mount, like all of this ties together. Actually, you were talking about the Beatitudes. If you go to the Sermon on the Mount, you go to where Jesus talks about the narrow road. He's specifically talking about this path of nonviolence, of loving your neighbor as yourself, of loving your enemy. That is the narrow path. That's the path that no one wants to take.
Right.
That's the broad way that leads to destruction, and many take that way. But just like we didn't freaking take that path back then, it really does make me wonder if we are culturally like this in America. And of course, whatever happens in America is going to affect the whole world. So, like, are we at this point? Have we reached some sort of like edge of some real, like, specific moment in history where, like, we're going to go this way or we're going to go this way? And there's going to be consequences one way or the other.
Right.
And my God, what you just think about that and your mind can go crazy.
Well, especially when you think about it from the terms of we've talked about the Book of Revelation several times and how it's. I mean, I don't want to speak for you, but I feel like you can at least see what I mean when I say it. But like to me, it's cyclical. It's not about. It's not just a future prophecy. It's not full preterism or this has all happened, but
Right.
like it was applicable to the people it was written to. It's applicable today, and it'll be applicable again in the future because it's cyclical. We follow the same thing over and over again, not until we break out of that path. That's the cycle of violence and oppression and empire, which is fueled
Yeah.
by violence and oppression.
Yeah.
Is this the moment that we finally break the cycle, or do we turn the wheel all over again? Does the cog continue
Right.
around?
Yeah. And so many things that I listened to today, they were just all connecting together, that made all this like heaviness about that even worse. Because like, like I said, I was listening to Jamar Tisby talking about the chattel slavery and the Civil War and all of that. And then I listened to David French
Mhm.
on a podcast talking to Curtis Chang. I think it's Chang. And he said that for a while now, I don't want to misspeak here. I think he said this. I listened to so many things today. I'm pretty sure it was him that said that he has for a while now felt like we were heading in a direction that could end up in another civil war if we don't, like I said, if we got those two paths, if we don't take this path, that narrow way, and freaking love each other, even your enemies, then maybe we are heading towards something like that. And
Yeah.
God help us
I mean,
if that happens.
not to add to your heaviness, but unfortunately, that's exactly where my mind went with all of the Trump deploying the National Guard and
Yeah.
in what tend to be cities that are more heavily left leaning and minority. Washington,
Right.
D.C., just recently in Memphis, which is probably the most solidly blue city in a conservative state in Tennessee. There is that cynic part of me again that sees that as setting up a stronghold here while we can before things really kick off. So
Yeah, I don't know, man. And then you mix in what Israel attacking Gaza this week, and it's too much, man. It's too much. My threshold for like how much s- sadness over our refusal to love our enemies, like I'm past that threshold that I can handle at
and that
this
really
point.
is to me like the maddening thing about the way that you phrased it right there was so perfect that it just sums up why I feel like a lunatic is because you said just our refusal to love our neighbor, and that's literally the whole thing.
Yeah.
If you're a Christian, Galatians says the fullness of the law is to
Yeah.
love your neighbor as yourself.
Yeah.
It is the thing, the mark of a Christian. Like, if you are a Christian nation, this is the thing. This is the thing that you define that by. And it's the thing that we refuse to do.
Yeah.
Like, we're really gung-ho about a lot of other things, but the one thing that we refuse to do is love our neighbor and love our enemies. Love those that are other than us.
Yeah.
We want to continue to scapegoat, and it is the one thing. Like, it just makes me want to bang my head against the wall. Like, I don't know how else to say it. Like,
Even if it means your life. And I understand that sounds so counterintuitive. It sounds so it goes against our most basic instincts to say that.
it's upside down.
But isn't that exactly what Jesus not only told us? It's what he lived, it's what he taught, and it's what he directly told his disciples who, surprise, surprise, if you're a Christian, you're the same. You're a disciple as well.
Supposed to be, yes.
Yeah, it's what he told his followers would happen to them.
Yes.
I was reading actually in John 16 today, because that scripture kept coming to mind, and I couldn't remember the context. I went and read it. And there's a lot in John 16 actually, but
I meant to look that up when you sent it to me because I couldn't remember the context either.
well, he starts off John 16 by talking about how they're going to be killed. The disciples are going to be killed. And the people that do it are going to think that they're doing the work of God when they do it. And, this is also the same chapter where he tells them that it's better for them that he goes away so that he will send the Spirit. Which is, again, another upside down. He's even more present to us through his going away. It's that upside downness. But the chapter ends in verse 33, and he says, I've said these things so that in me you may have peace. In the world, I think is how it's worded, you will be persecuted. But take courage, for I have overcome the world. And I've said this over and over on this podcast. I'm going to say it again. If you are a Christian, if you are a follower of Christ, what did you think you were signing up for?
Right.
I've said it. That's probably like the 7th time I've said it on this podcast so far. Like, what did you think you were signing up for, man? He told you outright what was coming. But he also rebuked the use of violence at every turn, even in the garden at the very end when Peter pulls out his sword. He says, no, man, that's not how this is going to go. That's not what we do.
I'd never really realized until I'd seen someone point this out to me this week that was actually the last miracle that Jesus performed.
Yeah.
Was to restore the ear off of a man that was cut off by one of his own disciples trying to defend him with a sword.
And that is, if that doesn't speak to this moment, if that isn't the perfect word, like we should just shut the podcast down right now. Let's just shut the episode down right here. If that's not the perfect, and that's part of what got me thinking about this whole, like, man, screw your opinions. That story, those words of Christ, that image from the scriptures, give people that. That's what the world needs to see, and that's what they need to take inside of themselves and let it live out. That's what we need. I don't need to hear your freaking conspiracy theories. I don't need to hear your opinions about this or that person, whether they did or didn't deserve to die. I don't need to hear any of that crap.
Right.
What the world needs to hear is that message.
Yes.
And when I say the world, I mean even more specifically Christians need to hear
even
that message.
Even a lot of times, though, Christians want to segregate between Christians and the world. No, Christians are in the world. So
yes. And that is how you save the world, dadgummit. That's how he saved the world. It really is so frustrating that we refuse to see it.
It is. It's oh man, it'll spin your head around because on one hand it is so infuriating because it's so clear, but on the other hand you acknowledge that it's completely upside down. So it's such a paradox. You know what I mean? Like it is really that simple. It's love your neighbor as yourself. Like love your enemies. The golden rule, treat others how you want to be treated. It's literally that simple, but that's so upside down and contrary that it's unthinkable. You know?
Yeah. And I don't know what else to do other than to just keep saying it.
Yeah.
You know?
That I heard somebody point this out, and I can't remember where, so I'm not going to even attempt to give a citation to it. But somebody pointed out that where a large part of where they see a failure is that for whatever reason we being American Christianity, evangelical Christianity for the most part, that's the only one I can speak to, has taken the Great Commission to mean go out and make people believe a certain way.
To conquer the world.
Yeah. But
even though Jesus said he's already done that.
But what the Great Commission was really about is go out and follow the way, which is to love your neighbor as yourself.
To make disciples of all nations.
That will make disciples of all nations.
Yes.
You're not going to go out
it's the goodness of God that draws people to repentance.
Exactly. And it's not about words. It's not all about honey words and sweet words. It's about putting it to action. It's about I mean, I think you've talked about it on this podcast before about some of the Christians that went through real persecution.
Oh yeah,
and when they were being ripped limb from limb, saying, "Father, forgive them."
Yeah, that's what it means to follow Christ.
That makes disciples.
Yeah,
that's what changes people.
That's what caused the explosion in growth in the early church.
Exactly. It's not about preaching to people or talking down to people, or even if you're talking good to them, but just to make them believe a certain thing. In my opinion, whatever. But it's about putting it into practice, allowing that fruit of the Spirit to actually change people.
Yeah.
Fruit nourishes when people eat it. So you produce that fruit and allow people to eat off of that fruit and see what change that makes.
Right.
That's the Great Commission. And that seems to be something that we'd missed.
The world will know you're my disciples by your love. I mean, it just is the message of the Gospels. And we just refuse to acknowledge it. Again, and I'm talking to Christians here because those who aren't believers, well, okay, of course you don't accept that.
Right.
But yeah, this is a message to Christians, really, that's where my heart is right now, at least, is as Christians, we have, it really is mind-boggling how we just can't see that is. I mean, Jesus said, go ahead.
I was just going to say, well, that's what you're saying is why I've said it. And actually, I heard BZ say it in a clip today, which made me feel a lot better about myself. But I've said before, it's almost like a whole nother religion, man, because that's how it feels, where it's completely, we use the same text and we use the same names and we talk about some of the same stuff and the same words, but sometimes it feels like a whole different religion.
Yeah. I really don't know how you get there reading the Gospels, though. I don't know how you get.
Well, I think that's the problem. Reading the Gospels.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, from my personal opinion, it's because we don't know what the Bible is or how to use it. And attempting to make something univocal that I don't think is causes you to have to, by necessity.
I guess. Even if you're going to have to try to explain away one to make sense of the other, For God's sakes, can we not just let Jesus be the one who's explaining the other stuff away?
You would think.
I mean, we are Christ eons. We are Christians. Christ is in the name. Like, can we not just let his
But that's-
words be the one that?
That's exactly why I have such a complicated relationship with Revelation.
Yeah, yeah,
That changes, I mean, a lot of people will hear what you're saying and be like, yeah, but
but this one book that almost didn't make it into the canon, that's super symbolic, and no one knows how to decipher it because the codes to decipher it were lost with the original
exactly.
readers
But
thousands of years ago.
that book, my understanding of that book tells me
Yeah, it's. I knew I was going to cry. I actually started to see if I could find some Kleenexes, but then I was like, oh, I'll probably be all right.
they're in the den. Next time you know.
Okay, I'll bring some down.
We definitely have some handy because I've been snotty.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. I don't know what else to even say about it now.
Yeah, I
I-
mean, I'll say what you're talking about is why, for me personally, despite some of the struggles, I mean, there's still days sometimes I'm like, what do I freaking believe? Like, because I struggle with some of this stuff, and as far as like theology is concerned, we've talked
Yeah.
at length in some of these episodes about, the Trinity and the hypostatic union and what does it mean to say, that Jesus is the Messiah and all these different
Yeah.
things. Like, what does all this mean? And even despite all of that, when I felt like I had nothing else, when I felt like this is a completely other religion and I don't even know if I believe and I don't know the one thing that I just held to, the reason why I still cling to Christianity despite all that is because I believe in what we're talking about, the nonviolent enemy love of Jesus.
Yeah.
Which I just consider to be the way.
Yeah.
That's the one thing that I have. That's my solid rock that I cling to. That while everything else may shift, theologically speaking, something within me just knows that's right. Like I just know it. I just
Yeah.
know that to be true. And I think it's more than that because I've seen it with my own eyes. I've seen, I think we have countless examples of violence leading to more violence. But
Yeah.
to me, that's the power of the gospel. It is the gospel, as you said. But
Yeah. Yeah. It is the consistent message of Jesus. And there's so many examples, like there's so many scriptures we could quote that show that. Whenever he's arrested, he says to Pilate, my kingdom is not of this world. If it was, then my disciples would be fighting.
right.
And he says, pick up. We try to we try to spiritualize everything, and I'm not saying there's not a spiritual interpretation to this, but he says, pick up your cross and follow me. He doesn't say your cross. You don't have one of those. I got mine,
Right.
so you don't have to have yours. That's not what he says. He says, pick up your cross and follow me. In other words, following Jesus means following him, even to his death. Like, if you're going to follow that way, it's probably leading to a cross, guys.
Yeah.
It's definitely leading to persecution. And like the disciples, it led to all of them died. I mean, the only one, according to the tradition at least, the only one who wasn't martyred was John.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we really all we have to go off of with that is tradition. We don't really know but what happened, but regardless, yeah. I mean, I think that's the point. That's
Yeah.
the point of the story. Yeah. I think Jesus said those who seek to find their lives will lose it, and those who lose their life for my name's sake will find.
Yeah. Right. It really is just the consistent message of the Gospels. Jesus didn't die so that you wouldn't have to. He died so that you could die, and so that you wouldn't have to fear death because death doesn't have the final say. Like And that's another thing I wanted to say about this whole situation is like my universalism gives me a different perspective on this than a lot of other people have, I think, a more hopeful view because I can say that this is terrible and what happened is terrible, but at the same time, I can have hope that this horrendous thing that has happened to Charlie, it will be made right. And the pain and suffering that his wife and children are going to suffer from this, that will be made right. And the guy who did it
I was gonna
will
say,
be made right.
can you imagine? And I think that this will in might be the most infuriating thing I say in this whole podcast. But can you imagine a time whenever Charlie Kirk and his murderer hug
Yeah, are reconciled with each other.
and
Yeah,
reconciled? Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, to some people that'll be the most inflammatory thing said, but to others, I think that that's the hope, right? A
Yeah.
full reconciliation.
that's the
Of
only
all
way that true
things?
justice is accomplished for that in that situation. You know that simply punishing that young man who did it for, let's say he gets the death penalty or he spends his whole life in prison and then he spends eternity in hell. I mean, yeah, he is punished for what he did, but is that what true justice looks like? Is that what the fullness of God's judgment looks like? Or does it look like reconciliation and making everything new? Which is what he says. And we want to talk about Revelation. Let's talk about what the Lamb says from the throne.
Right.
Behold, I make all things new.
Right.
I wipe every tear from every eye. Every eye will see him. And when we see him, we will be like him. We will know as we've been known.
I think that people just don't know what to do with it because they'll probably hear all that stuff and just be like, no, he deserves to suffer. And it's like, nobody said anything about there not being any suffering.
Yeah. There's going to be suffering.
He's suffering right now. I'm sure of it.
Yeah.
I mean, I have to believe. I've never taken anyone's life, let me just say.
Right.
But I have a hard time believing that you can and not go through hell.
Yeah. All of us are going to give an account for the things we do. He's going to give an account for the things he's done right now, in this life, but all of us are going to give an account for the things that we've done and said in this life, and that judgment is going to hurt like hell.
I tend to think so. I mean, I don't know what it's going to be like,
but I know that I trust that because God is good and God looks like this man from the
Right.
first century named Jesus, that it's that whatever that judgment and whatever that hell is, it doesn't have the final say. It's meant to transform and make out everything new.
Yeah.
To restore and reconcile, make whole. Sozo.
exactly.
But sometimes it's easy to lose sight of that hope when there's just so much going on in the world,
Right.
You have to make a conscious decision to stand on it and say, I refuse to. It really is. It's like it's spiritual warfare. It's what it really is. Like if anything is spiritual warfare, that is. It's refusing to slip into despair. Like the Desert Fathers, the monks and stuff. They talked about despair a lot, and uh, it was like one of the worst sins you could slip into for them. And but it's so easy to do that. And it leads to other sins, I think, if you allow yourself to just sink into that place of despair.
Yeah. I mean, I think that despair is inevitable to a certain extent, but it's the setting up camp there.
Right.
And I mean, I think everybody will take this differently. They have a different interpretation of this, but this is the way I personally view the Garden of Gethsemane before Jesus is arrested. And I think that he knows where this thing is crescendoing to. And the reason why he's in agony is because he He's afraid, in my opinion. He doesn't like. I mean, to me, I think he was a true human being. He felt that despair, but the difference is he didn't set up camp in the despair. He went forward with it anyway.
Yeah.
Even though Peter tried to defend him, to keep him from having to face that despair, he prevented Peter and healed and willingly gave himself up. Like, it's not about not
Yeah.
feeling that despair. I think that it's inevitable, but it's about what you do in that despair. Are you going to fall into the pit of it, set up camp in it, or are
Trust.
you going to trust? Are you going to have faith?
Yep. And that's
'Cause
what, yeah.
that's what faith is. It's not it's not. And now I can't even. My mind's so scattered. I can't even think about it. But it's not. It's not the opposite of. How does it go? The opposite of faith isn't doubt. The opposite of faith isn't doubt. The opposite of faith is certainty.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it's not. It's faith is not having that assurance. It's feeling that despair, but walking into it anyway. In my opinion. But
In trust.
exactly. Because the only way you can walk forward in is trust.
Yep. And that's, yeah. I forgot what I was saying. I forgot what even brought that up.
I don't even know either.
But
That's
yeah.
why I said it took all my mental power to get to that point, so it scattered me.
Yeah.
The funny thing about this episode so far is we haven't really talked about what happened, but I kind of knew that was. I don't have anything to say about what happened other than what we said at the very onset.
Yeah. I mean, I think that we have talked about everything that happened and is happening actually.
Well, I think that we talked about what I mean is we've talked about the fallout. We only talked about the incident itself for very briefly, but I don't have anything to say about that other than what we did.
I don't want to speculate about motive and things like that. There are some things that I think we do know, some things that are plausible about the motives. Like I did read that there were text messages or there was, personal conversations and different things that
Yeah.
that where he had made comments about, that he essentially that Charlie was, I think the word used was had to do with hate.
Yeah.
Hate speech. Apparently, based on those comments, it would lead you to believe that this fella didn't like a lot of what Charlie said because he thought it was hateful. But
yeah, I mean, I guess yeah. That's that's kind of my point is that we don't really have anything else to say about the incident itself. Like, I don't know what else to say about it other than what you said at the outset, which is that it shouldn't have happened and it's a tragedy. And
yeah, and like what I said before, like the Charlie and the man that took his life are both my brothers.
yeah, I think another thing to add to it that I want to emphasize, but not in a negative light. I want this to be like is that people are shot and killed every single day in this country.
Right.
Like, that outrage that you feel, you should feel that for everybody.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's not to, and I say, and what I meant when I said I mean this in a positive way is, like, I'm not saying that because I've seen people kind of use that as a way to, like, put down people for feeling grief over what happened to Charlie Kirk. It's like, oh, I see the way you're acting about this, but you didn't say anything about that school shooting that happened, or you didn't say anything about Melissa Hortman, who was also, assassinated 3 months ago in Minnesota. And that's not the way I mean it necessarily. Like, I'm not meaning it in a shameful manner. I'm just saying, like, you're right in feeling your rage about it. You're right in feeling that it's not right that a man was murdered, was shot, and lost his life. That doesn't sit right with you, and it shouldn't.
Right.
But now that you feel that, acknowledge that this happens every single day and that you should still feel out like my point is gun violence has to stop.
Yeah.
Full stop. Like, it's got to stop.
Yeah.
Because everybody like everybody that's feeling the way that they're feeling, you feel that way because you know it's not right.
Yeah.
And somebody is burying their loved one every day because of it. That feeling that you're feeling over Charlie, somebody feels that every single day over their own loved one. So we've got to put a stop to it, man. We've got to end this cycle of violence.
Yeah. It occurred to me as you were saying all that I should make clear what I was saying earlier. When I was talking about what did you sign up for as a Christian, I don't want that to be heard as me saying Charlie got what was coming to him as a follower of Christ. I don't want it to be heard in that sense.
Right.
That's not what I meant. What I meant more so was, how are we going to respond now? I said that after we had made that transition into talking about the all of the some of the calls for violence now after the fact.
Right.
And like, we have this path, these two paths. We always have that set before us, but maybe right now we're just more aware of it than we typically are. But we always have that path before us of the narrow path or the broad way to destruction. And as Christ followers, whether you're right or left, if you feel like, oh, the left is so violent, we have to meet violence with violence, or if you think, oh, well, they are attacking me and I don't feel like it's provoked, so I need to be violent. Like,
Right.
whether you're right or left, especially if you're a Christian, the call of Jesus is to resist non-violently.
Right.
So, but the thing is, if you're going to turn the other cheek, that might mean you get killed. And and the only reason I said what I said earlier was just for one, to encourage us that, like, Christ has overcome the world, is what he said. So even if it means we are persecuted to the point of our death, we should take courage because he has overcome the world already. Like, it is finished. And that was really just a call to Christians now to not resist evil with evil.
Right.
It wasn't a comment on what happened to Charlie specifically.
Right.
I wanted to make sure that was clear.
Pretty smart. I mean, I thought it was clear, but I also know what you were.
Yeah.
We've had the conversation enough times to know each other that
Right.
you don't actually have to say what you mean for me to know what you mean.
I guess I'm just trying to be
Yeah.
hypersensitive and make sure that, like, I don't want to be heard as saying anything that's insensitive to his situation with his family and all of that. So,
Right. And I think, I don't know, maybe this is right, maybe not. But I think that it is a good opportunity for us to show grace to each other. And what I mean by that is people are going to say things that they shouldn't say on both sides. As you said,
Right.
there are, I think that, I mean, I haven't personally, like, I don't know anybody that's celebrating what happened, but I'm sure that there are. And I think that that's misguided. You know what I mean? Like, I think that, I guess the point I'm making is, like, there's this whole movement now where people are trying to, like, this person posted this on Facebook. So, like, I think a school teacher posted something in the next county over, and she got in hot water and ended up resigning, but she was going to get fired anyway. And, I mean, people are losing their jobs.
Yeah.
Because of stupid stuff that they say. And I think what she said was stupid. Like, I think it was a bad take.
Yeah.
But, I mean, people are losing, like, even in a practical sense, like, that's not violence physically, but it is a form of it, because if you can't feed your family,
Right.
what does that lead to? You know what I mean? And, like,
Right.
people do deserve, I guess, to suffer consequences, but I guess what I'm saying is it's a good opportunity for us to have grace on each other.
Yeah.
And I think that I'm not just trying to be sympathetic towards leaning people. I think that street goes both ways. I mean, left leaning people have done the same thing to right wing people in the past, so it goes both ways. But it's just these are real people. I think we really do lose sight of that somehow. Because that's what I notice whenever you actually, like, when somebody says people on the left are violent, and you actually call them on that and be like, "Are me and my wife violent?" Well, of course, and I'm not talking about you. Well, I'm on the left. Like, when you talk about people on the left, you're talking about me and my wife. So, like, but I think that's intentional, not on the people, but on the language being used. Because when you just say people on the left, that's a caricature.
Right.
But we're talking about real people.
Yeah.
When you say people on the right, that's a caricature. No, those are
Right.
real people. Those are your uncle and aunt, or mother, father, or your brother, or, like, these are people that we know and love on both sides. So, like, it's not, these are real life people with real life lives,
Yeah.
Something to consider, at least. I don't know.
I think a lot of that is just, I don't know the right word for it, especially the right word that's not going to be offensive, but like, you're just not thinking when you say stuff like that. I think, like,
So, too.
if you were being a little bit more precise with your language, what you really mean is a certain subset of violent extremists on the left.
Right.
You don't actually mean every person that voted Democrat.
Right.
I hope not, because, well, I don't know. I don't know if I want to say that or not. That's just gonna lead to more stuffs. Because maybe I do want to say it.
Just say it.
Like, if you're saying everyone on the left is violent, then you realize you're also making a statement about race as well in that, because what is it, like 80% of African Americans are like more left leaning?
Right.
I may be off on that number, but it's a very high percentage.
Yes.
Are we saying that not all, but the vast majority of African Americans are just naturally violent? Is that what you want to say?
Right.
Is that what you want to say right now? I don't think it is what you mean to say. So let's maybe just be a little bit more thoughtful, at least, in the things that we're saying, and a little bit more precise with our language. That'd probably go a long way.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think it is. It's just part of that. Like I said, it's easier to. I think, like I said, I don't think it's on the part of the people actually using it. I think it's coming from top down intentionally, perhaps. Like, that's, again, probably just the cynical part of me, but, like, it's easier to get people riled up against a scapegoat whenever there's not a real face attached to it. If you're just saying those radical leftists, well, who are they? Like,
Right.
that's not a real person. That's a made up character in your mind. You know what I mean? Like, it's easy for you to get pissed off at a made up character in your mind. It's not until you attach somebody's face to it. It's just something about your face just makes me want.
Is there anything I can do about that?
No, it's just your face. No, but seriously, it is like, I think it's probably a good exercise, and I'm talking to myself here. I need to take this advice. It's like, if you start feeling that way about groups of people, the left, the right, Christians, Muslims, atheists, just put a face to it. Try to think of, like, somebody that you know and like that fits that bill. All those Republicans, like, think about somebody that you love that's a Republican. Is it the Republicans? Are they the problem?
Right.
Those Democrats. Well, just think about my face. I mean, actually, technically, I'm not even registered Democrat, but I do side with them more than Republicans.
Yeah.
But just think about someone that you know that's more left leaning. Like, put a face to it, because I guarantee that will change the way that you act and think and talk towards those people.
Yeah.
So, like I said, that's advice for myself more than even preaching to other people.
Right. Yeah. That's something we all need to hear, I think. Well, have we said all the things?
I don't know that we can say all the things. This is an endless well, but
Yeah, it is. I know I didn't say much about Israel and all of that because that's been adding to all of this, of course, all the heaviness.
right. I'm not even as educated on it as I need to be honest. Like I said, I told you this the other day. I just haven't had even the emotional capacity to deal with it, to because of
Yeah.
all the stuff that's hitting so close to home with all this
Mm-hmm.
Kirk fallout that I haven't even had the emotional capacity to even recognize what's happening in Gaza today.
I mean, in addressing the fallout from Charlie Kirk's assassination, we've, in a sense, touched on a lot of what I would have wanted to say about Israel. Only there was more specific things I would have liked to have said about it. But,
We'll say it.
well, I mean, I don't know if we. How long have we been going? Hour and 36. I'll just quickly say, unless we want to do a whole episode on it.
It better be.
Well, let me just say that I had quite the reaction when I heard it this week. And I think it was just because there was already so much going on. It was just like the straw that broke the camel's back. You know what I mean? But like I found myself actually like saying like we deserve judgment for this. I don't want to say what I actually said.
Yeah.
um,
I know what you said.
to myself, but yeah, it was, and I meant it literally. We deserve it. I think we deserve judgment for our complicit, being complicit in the genocide of these people. And it's there's nothing there's nothing I can do about it. And that sense of helplessness,
Yeah.
Is overwhelming.
Yeah, it feels even more heavy, I guess, because and we talked about this a lot in our Christian Zionism episode, right? But just the church's like influence on it.
Yeah.
Like anytime to me that we can tie the church and the church, like when I say the church, I mean Christianity as a whole, really, American Christianity, their influence to death and destruction and violence. How does that, like those two,
Yeah.
that's like oil and water. Those are, how does that mix to, I can't compute. Like, see, I can't even talk. Like, this just doesn't even compute.
Yeah.
It makes it so incomprehensible.
Yeah. I mean, we gotta stand with Israel, right? Well, do we? Like, to what extent? To where's the line?
Right.
Because I mean, if you just read your Bible, Israel makes a lot of mistakes and pays for it dearly. Like that's the thing. Like the Israel's chosenness, what they were chosen for, what they were set aside for, is the same thing that we are set aside for. The same thing that Abraham was set aside for. It's to be a blessing to every people group and every family on earth, man.
When the Apostle Paul wrote in the New Testament, post crucifixion and resurrection, there is neither Jew nor Greek,
Yeah.
male nor female, slave nor free. We're all one. Like if you view people that were born on one side of an imaginary line differently than you view these other people, like I don't know how that's not, in my opinion, that's not a Christ-like vision. That's not. There is no difference. People are people. We don't know. Do we have to back Israel? No, we need to back people.
Yeah.
I don't care what country they were born in. I don't care if they're Russian or Cuban or American or Israeli or Palestinian or I don't care. We stand on the side of people.
We're pro-life.
Supposedly, I've been hearing about that my whole life. Trust me.
Yeah. Um.
In word,
Yeah. We're pro-life because everyone, including like everyone, from the moment of conception, is the image of God, right? That's what I've always heard.
as some will say, yes.
Well, if that's true, if you really believe that, then let's really believe it. Let's apply it to everyone, whether they look like you or believe like you or live where you live or not. If all life is truly precious, then dadgummit, let's stop killing each other.
I mean, think that we really think like I don't know. I don't know how to say this, but I was just sitting here thinking about this for a second of like, do we really think that God cares about like countries, like borders, and like these people that were born in this area are different than these people. We got to treat these people differently. Like, is that what we really do? Do people really believe that, or do we just not think it through? Or it's so nonsensical to me. Like, if you actually take even just a iota of a second to think about it, you're like, this is so silly. Why would we believe that?
Right. Yeah. I don't know.
Does God judge people on their race? Does he treat some races different than others? Is that what we believe?
Right.
Really?
Yeah.
That's what I believe.
Yeah.
I'll say that wholeheartedly. I'll say that full chest. It's not what I believe. It's not the God I believe in.
Yeah. Well, like we read before in Romans 4, it says that Abraham's inheritance is the whole world, not just this plot of land in the Middle East. It's not about, well, who's on what side of which border, or, you know, whether they believe the same way as you or whatever it is. Like, the going back to what I was saying before, if you just read the prophets, you see that, like, over and over again, whenever Israel, which includes us now, we are grafted into this tree, this family, according to Romans. We are children of Abraham as well, through faith, So if whenever we, including Israel, Gentiles, again, there's no right, there's no separation between Jew and Greek. We're all one. Whenever we don't bless every people group and family on earth, there's judgment, and you have no further to look than the prophets for that. And God brings judgment on them over and over and over and over and over again for their lack of hospitality, their lack of care for the stranger, for the orphan, for idol worship, for not loving their neighbors as themselves. you know, the there is judgment for that.
Yeah.
And we are complicit in it. We, as America's like the only ones that are still like, hey, we'll support you with this.
Yeah.
Basically, the entire world is against it. And that's that when I got the news of that attack in Gaza this week, that was my response, was like, we deserve this. Like, this seems to me to be a line where, I mean, it may not be too late to turn back, but there is a point in which you're going to suffer the consequences of what you're doing. And it brought up to mind September 11th, and like, dadgum, aren't we the best recruiters in the world for Hamas and ISIS and whoever else happens to pop up as a result of all this? If we just want to continue to ensure that there is always a war to fight there, then by all means, let's keep let's
Again, violence begets violence.
Yeah.
It's the cycle, man. If you want to ensure the cycle of violence continues, then by all means go ahead with what you're doing, because all you're doing is raising up you're restarting the cycle all over again.
Yep.
A whole new generation of violence.
Yeah. There's someone's father who died this week.
Yeah.
What is that kid gonna think? What ideology is he gonna get wrapped up in? That's gonna make total sense to him in his situation, by the way. If you're just a kid and you see your dad, innocent dad, get murdered by Israel with our help, what is that going to make you just love America?
Right.
Is that going to make you love Israel?
Right.
Oh man. It's only ensuring that we have to keep freaking doing this.
Isn't it so obvious how it cycles?
Yeah.
It's so obvious. Like once you see it, you're like, of course I believe this, because it's really even not a matter of belief. You just see it. It's demonstrable. You can see it with your own eyes, and once you see it, you can't unsee it. And we've said that phrase before. Once you see this, you cannot unsee it. Like there is no way out of this cycle of violence, other than turning our swords into plowshares.
Plowshares. Yeah.
That's the only way. That is the only way.
And that is a prophecy that we can stand on. One day.
We're 2,000 years later, and we still haven't understood that.
Yeah. And it may be who knows how many thousands of more years before. Yeah, I don't know. Depends on your eschatology, I guess.
Right.
But yeah, I just wanted to say a few words on that, on Israel and our involvement in all of it. Aren't we America first too? I don't know. There's so much I could.
Some people are.
Some people are.
I told you, I'm world. I don't care what country you was born in, man. I'm for people. I'm people first. I try to be. Obviously I'm not perfect, but I try to be people first. I don't care if you're. That's why I like a lot of the stuff when it comes to immigration that people will say to me. I'm like, brother, you're talking to the wrong person. I do not care. Do not care. Like, I don't care where somebody was born. I don't care. I don't know how else to say it. I literally don't care. Like, I just love people first, and I try my best at that. Like, to not. Obviously, we all have our own biases, but I'm cognizant of the fact that I do and try to not have. I try my best. So,
yeah. When I said we're America first, I really was talking about
I know what you meant.
The folks who, the same folks who would be supporting Israel's genocide of the Palestinian people.
But man, I can't believe I'm going to be the one to say this. I can't believe this. Well, what have you made me into? What have I become? But as bleak as things look, what a story if we could come out of this. If we could actually come together. Right now. Over it. Man, though, like, there's no better moment. There's no better time in the history of the world to come together for peace than right now. This is it. Like, we could change the trajectory of the entire history of the human race.
Right.
Today. What an opportunity that is. Like, what a story that can be written. I mean, and I can't believe I'm going to be the one to say that, because I'm a little bit generally the cynical one of the two of us, the not as hopeful one. But I can see that. Like, I can see that hope of, I mean, I can see it going to hell too. Trust me, I can.
Yeah.
But in the, mind frame of Dumb and Dumber, so you're telling me there's a chance.
Yes. That's about the odds, I feel like. But
you know that the old saying goes, right, that the night is always the darkest right before the dawn.
Yeah.
So
There
Man.
will be joy in the morning.
Boy, that'd be a good song for it, wouldn't it? That fits.
Yeah, that would be a good one for us to do at church this week.
At this point, it feels like that's about all you have to go off of, right? Hope. That's what that song's all about. Hope. There will be joy in the morning.
Yeah.
You can't see it now, but you just know if it's not good.
It's not done.
So,
Yeah.
that's about all you can cling on to is hope.
Yeah.
Or just fall into a pit of despair. Loathing and despair.
No, can't do that.
No, we already talked about that. That's a sin. You can't do that.
Exactly. It really is a kind of spiritual warfare, like I was saying before. I don't know if I finished that thought or not, but like, if anything is spiritual warfare, that is. It's the refusal to allow yourself to lose hope.
I mean, that makes a heck of a lot more sense to me than some of the things I hear. So,
Yeah. I mean, the warfare is in your mind, right? So, like, yeah,
we wrestle not against flesh and blood.
exactly. Yeah. That reminded me, another scripture that kept coming to mind with this whole thing, and because I do feel a sense of urgency with it too, about it really does feel like we are on the verge of a pivotal moment in history. And like you were just talking about, like, that also means that we're possibly on the verge of like really turning things around, possibly, potentially. And what kept coming to mind is, it's from, the what Joshua says, choose you this day whom you'll serve.
As for me and my house,
We will serve the Lord. Choose you this day. Choose the path you're going to follow. Are you going to follow Jesus, even if it means your own, giving your own life? Are you going to follow Jesus? Are you going to serve the Lord? Or are you going to serve the kingdoms of this world? And are you going to serve Babylon? Are you, are you going to choose you this day?
I've already chose. As for me and my house, we're not picking up our swords. We're turning our swords into plowshares.
Yeah. But that's the question. I think it's probably a good time to call it good.
Yeah.
I think we ought to just leave the audience with that question.
Choose you this day.
Yeah.